So here are three big stories for today. It is Thursday, October 17th. So I want to start with this. I showed this yesterday. Zelensky saying that Ukraine is at war with three countries, Iran, Russia, and North Korea. Now, we know about Russia, that's obvious. North Korea appears to be actively in a state of war with Ukraine, sending soldiers to Russia to go to Ukrainian occupied territories. It seems pretty established at this point. Last video I just did was with Greg Terry, and you can go back and see that video where we're talking about North Korea. Iran's an interesting mix because, like what we're seeing here, this is the Kyiv metro, and they're in the Kyiv metro because of attacks of missiles and Iranian Shahed drones. I don't know to what degree Iran is actually coordinating with Russia, but something's going on, and I don't know how far that's gone. Here's the Kyiv metro as Iranian drones operated by the Russian army attack the Ukrainian capital. Ukraine might not be in the Western news anymore, but there's a war still going on here between good and evil. And so Iran is largely responsible for this kind of picture. Big story number two, Russia is flooding Germany with more disinformation than ever, officials warn. Analysts say that this tactic is helping pro-Kremlin narratives increasingly seep into the country's politics. And if we go into the DW article here, Russian disinformation is growing in Germany. It's clear that it's not just happening in Germany, it's happening in other places, but this is specifically focused on Germany. We have long recognized the threat to Germany from foreign influence and hybrid warfare, especially from Russia, said a Green Party lawmaker. However, we are now witnessing a new level of intensity, and this development is deeply worrying for all of us. Well, that's because it's actually changing things. It's having an effect. Otherwise, they would stop doing that and do something else in order to try to have an effect. President Vladimir Putin has long waged a hybrid war against countries in the West to create a new world order. That's happening in the United States, it's happening in Europe. This has led to a dramatic increase in the number and quality of cyber attacks by the Russian state actors and their proxies. So it's happening, and it's happening in Germany. There's a growing influence of pro-Russian voices. Quote, "We see that this strategy is gradually achieving its goals, and the public debate in Germany is increasingly shifting in the direction that serves the Kremlin's interests." Okay, so that may be why you're seeing some weakening in rhetoric from Scholz, who Scholz has stood by Ukraine and provided material for Ukraine, including 3 Patriots. But, quote, German Chancellor Scholz says that he's ready to discuss the settlement of the war in Ukraine with Putin, unquote. Now, is that just rhetoric, or is that rhetoric for the people that are kind of agitating away from Ukraine, or what's going on there? Not surprisingly, the Chancellor is eager to return to the good old days of cheap Russian gas and oil, according to the commentary by Jason J. Smart. I mean, all other things being equal, they would prefer peace, but I don't know if it's the propaganda that's having an effect or if he's softening or exactly what. I do know that his opposition leader, Friedrich Merz, the CDU, that's the Christian Democratic Union, delivered today in the German parliament the best speech in regard to Ukraine. He demanded from the chancellor the following, quote, "You have to communicate to Putin that he has to stop bombing civilian infrastructure such as hospitals, kindergartens, energy facilities, and if he does not stop doing that within 24 hours, then we will have to deliver tourists and remove all restrictions from firing long-range weapons into Russia." Merz also mentioned Putin's nuclear threats and the fact that some are impressed by it. He quotes a French philosopher saying, "A man who fears suffering is already suffering from what he fears." I think that's very fair. Putin is playing on fears. Merz is 100% right, and he might turn out to be the leader that Europe needs. And perhaps that's true. Okay, let's turn to the third big story. And Zelensky was unveiling the Ukrainian victory plan. And here are the 5 basic points. We're going to go over it, and then we'll just focus on number 1. First point is immediate invitation of Ukraine into NATO. The second was a defense, enough of a defense that they're actually potent. The third is Ukraine proposing to deploy on its territory a comprehensive non-nuclear strategic deterrence package. That looks like some weapons from the West that are able to take on Russia in a much more significant way. The fourth is economic, having the ability to make the economy run. And then fifth, after the war, they'll have one of the most experienced military contingents, and they'll share their knowledge with all of NATO and help become a guarantor for the rest of Europe. Okay, the first point, invitation of Ukraine to NATO immediately. It's not going anywhere. But this comment by John Cipher is actually prescient. Overall, Zelensky is saying to Europe and the United States, are we a normal state or not? Do you stand by the rules-based order on which you have built your international ideology for almost a century? Or are you admitting it was all a sham? That's fair. I mean, that's that's a really good point. Now, how does the new NATO General Secretary respond? I can't support Zelensky's whole victory plan, says NATO chief Mark Rutte. However, NATO will meet its 40 billion euro military aid target for Ukraine. So they're not giving what Ukraine really needs. They're giving more of a consolation prize. It's not that this isn't important either. It is important that they have what they're doing, but it's not going to solve the problem in and of itself. Zelensky's trying to strike an upbeat tone as he says Ukraine's invitation to NATO will strengthen us diplomatically and bring us closer to a real just peace. Now, he hasn't actually gotten the invitation yet. He said Ukraine deserves to become the 33rd member of NATO, and we will do everything to make that happen. During our meeting with the Secretary General, Mark Rutte, we discussed steps that will further strengthen Ukraine and help us in our fight. I thank NATO member states for helping to develop Ukraine's defense production, rebuild its critical infrastructure, provide military assistance. We count on the readiness of NATO members to deliver the already announced financial aid to Ukraine, totaling 40 billion euros by the next NATO summit in The Hague. Okay, so, and that's all fair, but it's still not enough to get where they're trying to get to. But hey, what's happened? Here's what's being delivered, and this is the headline here. Norway will provide 270 million to Ukraine's energy sector to address the damage caused by Russian attacks and assist Ukrainian population through the winter. But had they had the air defense, they wouldn't need to be spending on rebuilding the energy sector. Germany will supply Ukraine with AIM-9L guided missiles, 4,000 strike drones, and more than 300 reconnaissance UAVs. Okay, and other aid, I'm sure. And that's great. It's all great, but they'd still need to be under NATO's umbrella. Australia gifts 49 M1A1 Abrams tanks. That's awesome. Those tanks they rock. They're like the standard. The new U.S. aid defense package includes NASAMS systems, air defense missiles, artillery ammunition, anti-tank weapons, as well as other weaponry and equipment. But you know what I'm about to say, right? That's still not enough at this time. Ben Hodges replied to the readout of President's call with President Zelensky of Ukraine, where he's announcing the systems. All good, Mr. President, but to what end? What's our strategic aim? It should be Ukrainian victory, and the administration should proclaim it loudly and clearly and provide what's needed to accomplish that aim. It's got to be maddening to have to get drip-fed the materials that they need. Okay, just a couple of last things here. This is Gary Kasparov from my 2014 book, Russian Victory in Ukraine Will Be an Immediate Catastrophe for European Security and Long-Term Global Push for Nuclear Weapons with all the attendant dangers we used to understand. That's the real nuke risk in play now. Not that Putin's going to push the button, but that it's going to proliferate because they see what Putin's doing right now, and that if you have nuclear weapons, you can get away with murder. That's the real risk now, not Putin's tired saber rattling. And here's a passage from his book. To answer my own question, it tells the world that American security promises are worthless and British ones for good measure. The only point of Budapest was to demonstrate to any potential aggressor, all eyes on the Russian bear next door, obviously, that the United States was putting Ukraine under its nuclear wing. If such displays are meaningless, and having their own nuclear weapon is the only way to be safe from aggression, it will not take long for other countries to move full speed toward acquiring them. This is what Iran is doing right now. Japan and Taiwan count on America to deter China. South Korea counts on America to deter North Korea. And whether they admit it or not, half of the nations in the Middle East have rejected a push for nuclear weapons to match Israel's because of America's long shadow. It's difficult to see that restraint lasting very long if President Obama continues to meet Russian military aggression with weak sanctions, worthless negotiations, and expressions of deep concern. He's spot on. I can't say he's wrong. Okay, last little bit from Tanked Putin, the parody site. I hear a lot of people celebrating Australia sending a few tanks to Ukraine. Well, the joke's on you. Their tanks don't work in this hemisphere. Okay, my friends, that's all that I have. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.